life and liberty, where it comes from, life and liberty does not come from our government, but it comes from our Creator, and that is so, so important. But not only that, Jefferson talked about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the pursuit of happiness means to lead our lives as we choose. And in an economic sense, we should have to work hard, take care of ourselves, take care of our family. But in order for that to work, I'm convinced that we have to recognize once again that if you do work and you do earn something, you do get above your rights, they belong to you and not that would be that we reject the entire notion of the income tax. We reject the amendment. Anybody with liberty, I think it's most important to understand how to defend life. And for my time that I've spent in politics as well as medicine, I've thought this issue through rather seriously, and I've written even a booklet on the right to life issue, the unborn. And I frequently tell a story about when I was a resident. This issue came up. It was in the 1960s when abortions were still illegal, but my professor was doing abortions and permitting abortions to defy the law. I accidentally walked into a room where they were doing an abortion, and they delivered a 2-pound fetus infant that was breathing and crying, and they took the baby and went over in a basket in the corner, and they waited, pretended they didn't hear it, and let it die. That is an outrage. And unfortunately, since that time, our Supreme Court has institutionalized that. And that is why I think one of the most despicable of all court rulings has been the Roe versus Wade, and that should be our goal, is to repeal Roe versus Wade. That could be done. Of course, we could wait until we have our Supreme Court justices appointed for them to, when the time comes, to rehear a case like that and rule differently. That's taken a long time. We've been living with Roe versus Wade since 1973, and it hasn't happened. My approach, I support that, but my approach is a little bit more direct, and it's much quicker. It is accepting the principle that we can, as a legislative body, we can remove the jurisdiction of this issue from the federal courts. We, the People's Act, the marriage issue, as well as the abortion issue, which literally just takes it away from the federal courts, which means any state could pass a law, pass a prohibition, it could not be heard in the federal courts. Now, the question I don't have the answer for is why we haven't done better with this approach in Washington. I don't get the support that I think we should have. We haven't had the support in Congress. We've had the majority for a good many years. We've had a pro-life president, but we have not moved in that direction. We said, oh yeah, churches will take care of that. This would go into effect immediately, and it occurs only with the majority vote of the Congress. So don't give up on that method. Make sure that when you're promoting your issues and promoting the cause of life, you remember that principle. It can be found in my bill called We the People's Act. One area that I've spent a lot of time working on throughout the many years in Congress, as well as my first tour or second tour, has been that issue of national sovereignty. I am very determined that sovereignty of this nation is very important to protect. And unfortunately, in my lifetime, I have seen it just disappearing before my eyes when I think about what's happened in World War II. our borders. And yet the people want the borders, of course, the Americans don't say that, and yet we're working on this. Our borders, our American Union, our currency, and it never seems to stop. Now, my approach to this problem and dealing with illegal aliens, we all want to stop the illegals coming in. We all know we need border guards, but it's not like border guards from our country being sent over to Iraq. They don't need to be in Iraq. They need to be here protecting our borders. But I believe you have to eliminate the incentives for illegal aliens. Automatic birthright citizenship. No wonder that then federal mandates on the state give free medical care and free education. At the same time, of course, hospitals in Texas going bankrupt and going out of business because of these things. I say we eliminate all the economic benefits and all these incentives for people to be subsidized to come over here. No food stamps and no Social Security and no mandates to get free medical care and free education. Most of you probably know that I have had a different position on the war and foreign policy. My foreign policy is that of the founding fathers. The founding fathers mind our own business, not get all these declarations. Don't make the nation. Don't police the world. What's good for us? It's not war unnecessary. This country is war to be done in the proper constitutional manner. War, we should fight the war and not get into war to enforce UN resolutions like we have done too many times. We can't afford our entitlement policies, and we can't afford our foreign policy. Based on the world, and it costs a lot of money. Our national debt is going up $500 billion per year, and we can't afford it. How do we get away with it? Well, it's been sort of a gift to us that we're getting away with it. It's coming to an end. We tax to the hill, we can't tax anymore. Then we borrow to the hill, our spending policy, borrow from China. This is a failed policy. It's going to collapse. And all you have to do is go out and even today, look at the financial news and look at what's happening to the dollar. That is a bad sign. And this is what has happened historically throughout hundreds and thousands of years of history. It's a increase that overdo the overseas, and they overdo things at home. It used to be called bread and services. And nuts and butter, the money was destroyed. The Soviet system came down not because we beat them in a hot war. They defeated themselves because they had an economic system that failed. We have an economic system that is very fragile, and it cannot financing, borrowed money, and the legal admonition of no fair way to nothing but gold and silver should be legal tender. There should be no central bank, and you can't create money out of thin air. Is that of the currency and evaluation of the dollar? And because at the time we can't anticipate that we are in for a lot more economic problems before us. Do all this, we run into troubles, whether it's troubles overseas, the threat of terrorism, or whatever. These are the conditions that have been set up so often throughout history when we lack our concern about our personal liberties. And we do not have to sacrifice liberty. The argument that, oh, now, because we're threatened, that we have to be under these concerns, we have so much freedom in order to be taken. You know, Benjamin Franklin, listen, I think it was absolutely right. Central will appropriate $50 billion. Where did $50 billion go? It went down the rail. I mean, they bought trailers that were left out in the weather and not used. They passed out money to people who didn't even exist. Central economic planning doesn't work. But what else did they do? Because of the concern and the fright of this emergency, the federal government came in and took away the guns from the property owners and kept the property owners from going in and protecting their property. So once we become so fearful that the government will take care of us, it's too easy to give up our liberties. This is what's been going on, and we've been good as conservatives condemning. The inflation. Eventually, the country goes back. What we're facing today, we're on the verge of a bankruptcy. The other night, when we had a debate, the questioners introduced the question by saying 7% of the American people believe we're either in recession or going into recession. And to put our heads in the sand and say, oh, that's not true, everything is okay, I think will hurt us and will not help us solve our problems whatsoever. And if we do the right thing and recognize these problems, the answers are not that difficult. What we have to do is live within the bounds of the Constitution. Now, there will be disagreements on many issues. For instance, the issue of education. I take the position that most Republicans took for a long time. But I don't even think we should have a Department of Education. Education. We are that Constitution deserves to change. It deserves to be modified. It's meant to be slow and tedious, and when it's necessary, we should do that. But just to ignore it, and that's what's happening. Whether it's with the Declaration or taking over medical care, taking over the education system, what is left? What is left for our president? What are we saying about it today that our minister can't even say certain things at all? Where's the First Amendment? There's been a movement in Washington for several years now that I have fought, and many of you in this audience, I'm sure, have tried to help me, and I thought I was making progress, but unfortunately, we did not win this issue. Several years ago, they introduced this notion that we will have mandatory mental health testing of every single child in public school. I condemn that. We should not permit that. Undertaking these types of drugs. I'm a physician. I also am sympathetic on children that have been helped. But when the government gets into the medical business, mandating or mental health testing, which ends up putting more kids on these drugs, there's something wrong with that. And the principle is that we as people have permitted our government to become the parents. The parents are in charge of the children. I strongly endorse the notion of personal liberty. That is what our government and our country and our Constitution is all about. I am also one of great confidence that if we were left alone, that we have responsibility for ourselves, both personally, what we study and read, as well as what we put into our body, that we would act in the federal government and the bureaucrats. But I'm also convinced that they don't know what to do. They don't know how to run their lives. They don't know how to run the economy. They know how to run the world either. So when we do this, we will have a much better society. Sure, some people are going to make mistakes. Sure, some people people, even though they think they're self-reliant, might not take care of themselves as well as they should. But in freedom for our action. To assume otherwise means that we can see way too much to the government. Now, if we want to be humanitarians, we have to argue for freedom and liberty and marketplace and sound money and no eminent domain and all these issues which are dear to us. If we could argue that case, then we become the humanitarians. Because if you look at economic history, the only way famine was ended, the only way that poverty was ended was with capitalism and freedom and property rights. And how come we have lost this fight? How come so often we as conservatives and Republicans have conceded to the Democrats and have gone along with their entitlement system? Because we're frightened to say, oh, you lack compassion, you don't care, and therefore we the prescription and therefore we don't care about the children. Well, if you truly care about the children, if you truly care about and be compassionate about the well-being of everybody, and are putting the responsibility as individuals and leaving the family responsibility, then we argue the case of freedom and free markets and sound money, and we stick to the Constitution. We don't rely and say, well, there will be a few that will be needed. The truth is, prosperity. I started in medicine when we didn't have the government involved. Medicare was cheaper and wasn't involved. I worked in church. Nobody was ever turned away. Today, no charity hospitals very often anymore, and everybody was charged the maximum. Medical care is in shambles because the corporations have taken over. Now the alternative government's taken over. We have to look at each and every one of these problems and say, let freedom take over, let the individuals take responsibility. We can't do it. All we have to do is believe in America, believe in freedom, and believe in the Constitution. Thank you for that.